accent challenge. Oh, it's gonna be lovely. It's gonna be so good. What else are you gonna do with your month? Why not? Come on, give it a go. Yeah, I can definitely do it.
The accent challenge is quite splendid indeed.
Good morning. It's the last day. Can you believe it?
Oh, I'm dreadfully sad, but what can we do? Friday had to come sooner or later.
What's wrong with your voice?
I'm playing with my intonation so they can all hear it very clearly indeed.
Well, as long as you tone it down a bit later. You sound a little bit ridiculous.
Ooh, wait, I'll put in some rhythm from yesterday. That will help as well.
Me sound ridiculous? I never sound ridiculous. I never in my life sound ridiculous.
As you've probably gathered, today we're talking about intonation. Intonation is something that's quite difficult to explain and to teach because we usually pick it up by ear. In fact, it's the first thing that babies understand and the first thing they start to imitate when they learn to speak is the intonation. You can even find intonation patterns from people's mother tongue, their original language, in baby cries. It's very, very interesting indeed. And it's a little bit complicated to sort of put down on paper. There are books and articles and all sorts on intonation, but if I said every single thing, your brains would absolutely explode. So what I'm going to do instead is to give you a few of the sort of really typical RP things that you can listen out for specifically. And there will be other things that you notice the more you listen to RP speakers, but these ones will set you off on the right path and they'll give you something to kind of latch onto if you're feeling a bit lost or like, I don't know if this sounds right or not at all.
Before we properly begin, I want to tell you a little bit about how to mark intonation. As you'll see in your document, in your email, that some of what I'd like you to do today is just that. Now, I've got a very simple text here that I've written down, but you can print the documents, or if you're very technological indeed, you can even do it digitally. So here's my sentence. How are you? Oh, you can see my ring light. Behind the scenes. Now, imagine you hear this sentence. How are you? The first thing you're going to do, always, is to place a dot somewhere in the middle above the first syllable. In this case, it's the word how. Now, in the documents, I've tried to leave enough space above the text for you to do this. Some people prefer to mark their intonation going right through the text. I find that a little bit messy and hard to read, so I do it in a little space above. So I've put my first dot just there. And you can see, try to get out of the ring light reflection, you can see there's some space above and some space below. That's always what we want at the beginning of your sentence, okay? Space above and space below. Now, I've said this sentence, how are you? So from this point, does my voice go up or down? How are you? Up, correct. Does it go up a tiny bit or quite a lot? Quite a lot. So above the next syllable, the R, we're going to put another dot quite a bit higher up. Now what about the next word? How are you? Does it go up or down? Of course it goes down, but does it go down further than this starting note? How are you? Yes. So we want to put it below the start. That's why it's important to have some room above and below. So I might put it down here. Some people like to just leave it like that. Other people then connect the dots and make a sort of curve. How are you? There, you can see it there. How are you? Now, of course, this is a skill that takes some time to get used to, as usually when people are speaking, they're talking at a quicker pace than, how are you? But if you start to train your ear, as we're going to do today, you'll pick up on lots of little subtleties. The thing I want to encourage you to do is to always pay attention syllable by syllable. So if you try and do a whole line at once, your brain's going to just gone. But if you pay attention syllable by syllable, imagine someone says, "You're a professional." The first thing you're going to listen for is the difference between "your" and "a." You're a. Okay, I think that's the same. You write your dots. And then "you're a Is that the same? What does it do? You're a Oh, it goes up a little bit. You write that dot. And so on, and so on, and so on, until you have a fantastic musical score of the text you're listening to. Something else to add to this, and also be aware of in your listening, is that it's not always the case that one syllable has one pitch. For example, you might hear something like this. It's only one word, oh, but it's got 3 pitches. Can you hear it? Oh, oh, oh. So be careful of that. Your brain might try to tell you one syllable, one pitch, and it might be wrong.
Just quickly following on from yesterday's discussion about rhythm and word stress, you'll notice if you come from North America or if you've learned a predominantly American style of English language speaking, we don't stress as many words in RP as they do in the United States. So whereas an American might say something like, "Oh my God, that was fantastic," 4 emphasized words there. Someone who speaks with an RP accent may say something more like, "Oh my God, that was fantastic." Only 2 words were emphasized.
Right, first things first. Sit up nice and tall. For one thing, it's very proper and very elegant and posh. And for another thing, in order to work on intonation, you need to access your full voice. And to do that, you have to breathe properly. And it's very difficult to breathe properly if you're sort of hunched in this position on your sofa. Doesn't suit me at all, does it? And I've got a rhino coming out of my hat. No, I think I'll stay here. Thank you very much.
In fact, something that's a really good idea is that when you're going to work on intonation, do a little bit of a vocal warm-up. So take some nice deep open breaths, sigh them out, do a few vocal sirens going from your highest pitch all the way down there. Anything to warm up the range of your voice for a few minutes will be excellent. The first major thing to point out is that in RP speech, the range of pitch is a little bit bigger than in most other varieties of English. What does that mean exactly?
This means that if you normally live in a pitch range about here, hello, hello, what we want to do for RP is increase it by quite a bit. Hello, hello. So you can practice with very basic phrases to start with. Something as simple as happy birthday. Take the same intonation and just make it slightly more dramatic with higher highs and lower lows. Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
I've included a few listening activities today, and a really good example of this is Emma Thompson in Saving Mr. Banks. You can also hear it from a male perspective if you listen to Stephen Fry. You'll find that RP speakers are very fond of mountains and valleys.
I'm ready. Let's go. Everest, here I come.
Mountains start low, they move up, and then they go back down again.
I really don't know what to say.
A valley is the opposite, as you might imagine. It starts high, then drops down, and then goes back up.
I really don't know what to say.
Sometimes instead of mountains and valleys, we just have very gentle inclines or declines. So we slowly go up and up and up as we're talking, or we start at the top and we slowly go down and down, not really emphasizing much at all.
I don't really want any tea right now, thanks. I'm a bit preoccupied.
I don't really want any tea now, thanks. I'm a bit preoccupied.
This can come across as a little bit patronising, awkward, bored, disinterested, and is often used in humour. Why didn't you call me yesterday when I was home waiting for the phone to ring? I really could practice RP accents all day, every day. They're absolutely fascinating.
Other times we can't believe how exciting things are, and we jump up a cliff or down a cliff very, very abruptly. This intonation pattern is very typical of RP, and you'll hear it in quite a few of the listenings. It happens very quickly, so you have to really tune your ear to it. So I'll do it a few times exaggerated and then make it sound a bit more natural. So I call it the ski jump because you start at the top and then you go down and then you lift off at the end. And this can happen very, very fast in a sentence or in a single word. So an example would be, hello, hello.
For all of you professional skiers, we've also got the advanced ski jump. This is where we go even higher and then skiing back down and then up again at the end on that lovely little jump.
This intonation pattern often expresses something like disbelief or shock or surprise. I never knew that. Or it can express the opposite. Isn't it obvious?
You can do this on a whole sentence or even a single word. Listen to the difference between these two. What in the world? A whole sentence. Or on a single word. What in the world? And a little bit quicker and more naturally. What in the world? What in the world?
This one I call the RP down, down, doom pattern. It's often used to express things like anger, impatience. It can be quite patronizing. It can sound quite annoyed. And you do it by basically taking 3 emphatic words and making them go down.
What is that? I need some tea.
Something else that's quite subtle but quite important for RP is to see our words and our voice through to the end of the line. So if you think about that bird image that we had yesterday, of the bird sort of, we don't want it to crash down too often. The same kind of thing can be applied to our text. So you want to feel like your bird is gliding down at the end of the line, not arriving at the end of the line.
We're doing well, we're going smoothly, and then plop, crash. Oh dear.
So something to work on is to extend your voice through all of the sounds, especially if the line ends in a consonant that has voice, like a D. So you want to say something like, yes, we did, not yes, we did. Okay?
An excellent exercise that we can use to practice this involves doing something a little bit odd. You place your hand next to your mouth at the beginning of your text or your line that you want to say. With your eyes, watch your hand. Of course, with your eyes. What else are you going to watch your hand with? What a silly thing to say. Watch your hand with your nose. And as you speak, extend your arm so that right when you get to the end of the line, your arm is straight. And then you imagine the text continuing out the end of your fingers. It sounds very strange, I know, but trust me, it works. If you have difficulties with falling off the ends of your lines, for example, if you said, I really don't know, instead of, I really don't know, this is something that can help you fix that. I really don't know. Your voice is going to naturally match where your attention is. In this case, it's your hand, and it's continuing on through the whole end of your text.
There are a few other particular things worth mentioning, just in case you ever have to improvise in RP, or you have a script that sounds a bit American and you don't know why, and you're trying to adapt it so that it suits an RP accent.
The word do. We use this to add emphasis. I do hope you'll come to my party. I do love a good cup of tea. We also add this word after modal verbs. Those are things such as should, might, could, may. So if someone said, "Will you go raving on Saturday?" you could say, "I may do, I might do, I should do."
We often say shall instead of will or should. Shall we continue?
Yes, please. Another thing we love to do in RP accents is to use colourful language, particularly adjectives. It's much more fun to say, "That film was dreadful," than it is to say, "That film was very bad."
A very common word that people mispronounce in RP is the word cannot. So if you're working on a script and you have this word, be sure that you're emphasising the first part. I cannot speak to him. And not the not. I cannot speak to him. If they mean for you to say cannot, they would simply write the two words separately. I cannot go. It's a little bit different in tone and emphasis. If they're writing this single word, cannot, listen to the difference. I cannot go. I cannot go. Can you hear it lifts it a little bit? So if you have that word in your text, always circle it and practice saying it with that emphasis on the can.
Lastly, if we're telling somebody else what to do and we use two different verbs, typically go or come and then an action, in RP we must insert the word and. So for example, I could say, "Come and give me a hand." I would never simply say, "Come give me a hand," like you do in the United States. Go and brush your teeth, not go brush your teeth. Come and dance with me. Any takers? No? Oh, well, never mind. Perhaps next time.
That's it. We've finished our week of RP.
And what a lot of information. I fear my head may explode. Though I hope not. I do so enjoy this hat.
Well, it is called the Accent Challenge for a reason. But don't worry about it too much. Just focus on one thing at a time, apply them to your script, and let the muscle memory start to kick in. Practice makes perfect.
Stick with it. Carry on doing your mouth exercises every day if possible. Listen to other people speak, imitate their mouth movements, try to match their intonation and their rhythm, and whatever you're doing, it's a very good idea to record yourself so that you can listen back later on and also track your progress.
If you have any questions at all, please don't be shy. Keep on sending them to me. Quite a few of you have been doing that, and it's been absolutely brilliant and no problem at all. I'd much rather you ask than sit there frustrated and confused. Now it's time for you to dig right into that text that you've been working with. So take the rest of today, if you have, half an hour spare, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever, and if you can, a bit of time at the weekend, and work on it, applying all of these things that you've been learning for the week. Then you can send me a video sometime this weekend, or even on Monday morning is okay as well, and I'll get back to you with some really personal feedback, and this is my favourite bit. I'm really excited to receive all of your videos.
I believe in you.
So, what should we do now?
Well, a happy wiggle, of course, and later on, a bit of raving. It is Friday, after all.
I suppose so. Have a beautiful weekend, and it's been an absolute pleasure poshing with you.